In this video, where to stay in La Paz, Baja California Sur, Mexico. If you're watching this video, you probably are considering visiting La Paz. And in this video, we're really going to be going over the logistics. This video is not about specific hotels and fancy videos of specific hotels. The way I think about where to stay in a particular city is logistics and being in the right neighborhood, the neighborhoods that have maybe the cafes, the bars, whatever you're optimizing for. So in this video, we'll walk through some of your options, some of the different neighborhoods here in La Paz, and that'll help give you an understanding of what to look for when you look for an Airbnb, when you look on Expedia, wherever you're going to book. And we'll try to cover a couple different types of people, right? Because the retiree might be looking for something different from the digital nomad. Someone staying for, a week or 10 days or a month might be different than someone looking for a long-term stay. So we'll try to cover a lot of those cases here in this video. So this is La Paz, Mexico, and let's start by doing a quick zoom out to see where we really are in Mexico. Because I know a lot of people, their geography is not as on point as it could be. So we're in the Baja Peninsula, and of course we're in the state of Baja California Sur. There's two states, Baja California and Baja California Sur. And in Baja California Sur, you probably know the big cities are La Paz, and then also Los Cabos, Cabo San Lucas, and San Jose del Cabo. And this is about, a 4-hour drive, something like that, from La Paz to Cabo. I've done it myself. It's super epic, renting a car. Highly recommend it. So there are airports here in Cabo San Lucas, and also there's another airport in San Jose del Cabo. There's a chance you might be flying into one of these airports and then doing the long drive, but the most probable thing is that you're going to be flying directly into La Paz. So this is the La Paz airport, which you can see is kind of on the outskirts of the city, to the west of the city. And then we have the city of La Paz. Now, the city of La Paz has been growing a lot lately. In the past 10 years, it's grown massively. It's at, I want to say, 500,000 people now, and there's no reason this wouldn't be a 1 million person city in the future, because it definitely keeps growing due to the weather and just how many things to do there is. The economy's growing, the tourism, the snowbirds, the digital nomads, the expats coming down from the United States and Canada. So this city is absolutely growing, and that's sort of reflected in the neighborhoods as well, because you can see there's starting to be a lot of urban sprawl here in La Paz. Now, long story short, where you really want to stay in La Paz, ideally, is on the malecón. Malecón means boardwalk, right? And you really want to be somewhere along the boardwalk to have kind of access to all the amenities. They recently redid the boardwalk. It's super nice now. So we'll do a little street view just so you can get a bit of the vibe here. I mean, look at that. We got bike lanes, palm trees, and then at night, the sunsets here are incredible. Legit, some of the best sunsets in the entire world. I think that's not an exaggeration here in La Paz, Baja California Sur. So this is the Malecón, and it's a great place to come and, bike ride and roller skate and walk and, grab an ice cream, all that stuff. The Malecón is really quite long, and I think they've extended it as well. And so really you should be optimizing for staying somewhere near the Malecón. And as you can see, you can sort of go into the town a bit and kind of click through, and there's all this housing here near the beach. So this is really where you want to be. And we can start breaking this down into more details, some of the micro neighborhoods here. But really the main concept is you want to be as close to the Malecón as possible. The way La Paz is set up is like, this is just where you want to be, somewhere near the Malecón, probably within a 5-10 minute walk. And then everything else starts getting, a little bit more I don't want to say suburban, but just, yeah, suburban, urban. There's not too many other parks. There's not too many other attractions. Maybe in other cities, there's a couple cool neighborhoods or a couple different distinct focal points of attention and sort of vortex zones. But really here in La Paz, the main vortex zone and really the only vortex zone is being along the malecón and being near the beach, okay? There are also communities of housing here outside the city in places like El Centenario. There's even some houses kind of out here along the dunes. Here we have these crazy sand dunes. You can go sandboarding. Out here in the water, there's whales for whale watching. So the dunes area is pretty epic. I know they're starting to build some communities out here in the dunes, as you can see, starting to build some golf courses. You probably do not want to be here. You definitely do not want to be there, but definitely a cool place to visit. So coming back to the city, I'd say the real concept here is that the cost of living is going to drop dramatically the further you get from the malecón. So the malecón, anything within, say, 10, 12 blocks of the malecón is going to be, rather gentrified, touristic, much higher concentration of gringos and retirees and so forth. And then as you start moving back into these neighborhoods that are further away from the malecón, places like Francisco Villa and all these neighborhoods down here, Los Olivos, this is going to start getting a lot more local. But also, you're going to have a much lower cost of living. Some people can handle that, local neighborhoods. Some people can't handle that, or they're just not looking for that. Because obviously, maybe the level of English is going to be a little bit lower, and the construction is going to be of a little bit lower quality. And there's going to be more, local Mexico-isms where, you got barking dogs and all that stuff and empty lots and so forth. But really the whole city is not too bad, as you can see by this street view. And here we're really quite far from the beach. We're really in sort of the local neighborhoods, and it still looks not too bad, like pretty livable. So that just gives you a bit of an idea. And then another thing I wanted to definitely mention in this video is there's a really big student population in La Paz. A lot of students come to study things like marine biology and things related to the ocean. And so La Paz is particularly famous for their marine biology schools, naval schools, things like that. But of course they have other programs, it's not all ocean. And one of the big universities here is the Autónoma de Baja California Sur, UABCS, which, as you can see, is kind of on the other side of this little river here, the Cajoncito. And there's also a lot of housing here on this other side. And here it's going to be much cheaper, right? It's going to be kind of student housing. You're going to be able to find everything from, cheap little studio apartments to houses that, are rented by 4 or 5 students and all this kind of thing. So lots of students all around here. And then also a lot of student bars and student restaurants and things like that. So if you type in bar and, you can see there's kind of some student-focused bars in this area. And I'm sure there'd be more if I kind of refigured my search a little bit. So that's kind of what you're looking at is here on this other side, lots of students, but also lots of normal, family-oriented houses and neighborhoods as well. You're very close to the airport here. You're going to have a much lower cost of living on this side of things, and the sprawl is just continuing all the time, where they're constantly building new neighborhoods out here. And so this might look totally different or much more built up in the next 5 years, but it's already quite built up, as you can see. And you can get pretty deep into this. Like, obviously, a place like this where we're seeing this Las Micheladas bar and stuff. I mean, this has 584 reviews, 4.5 stars on this bar here. And this is kind of at like the furthest corner of the city. So when something has 584 reviews, that's a pretty good indication that, it's pretty well frequented. And this is a lot of students and things like that down here. They even got skate parks down here. That actually looks like a pretty nice skate park. So it's really quite built up. So you kind of have these options. I know an English-speaking audience, someone watching this video might not be interested in staying in an area like this. Maybe if you were looking to stay long-term, you're a family, and you're looking for a place to rent a house for like, $500 a month, this is probably where you're going to be looking, is this whole area, and then, of course in the south here. So if you're the type of person that says like, I want that $500 house, I want to live cheap, that kind of thing, no stress, these are kind of the areas that you're going to be looking at. And there's kind of a natural barrier to the city along the south where you have this hill. And then also to the east, there's really this big natural barrier where there's these mountains here. And there's a lot of really cool hiking. I've done some of these hikes myself. Cerro de Calavera. You can come up here. It's really, really cool. What you can do is you can take an Uber just to the base of the cerro here, and then do this hike up here. And there's tons of like mountain biking and good spot to go for a run as well. But yeah, that's why the city has not grown super far east, is because there's a sort of natural barrier with these mountains. Although you are starting to see it a little bit going around, as you can see on kind of what I'm zooming in on here. The kind of the southeast of the city is starting to get more and more built up out here as well. And then coming back to the malecón, kind of leaving the best for last here, everything's really quite walkable, especially if you have a bike or skateboard or rollerblades or something like that. But this is a smaller area than you think, and you can really walk from end to end in less than 30 minutes. It's really not all that big. And so maybe the bleeding heart of La Paz could arguably be considered the Catedral. And I can even kind of zoom in on this. And it's kind of that classic Mexico setup where you have the church with sitting in front of a main plaza where they have the gazebo thing, and they have the plaza, and there'll be people selling ice cream and all that stuff all around here. So this is arguably the beating heart of the city, is right here, and then really right in here as well, around this sort of hip bend area, you can see there's a Sears, which gives you an indication that there's a little bit of shopping. There's lots of hotels, bars, restaurants, things like that. So this is really sort of the bleeding heart of the city here, as you can sort of see. On Google Maps, it turns yellow when it's a little bit more commercial, right? In terms of the type of real estate. So this is really the center is this kind of whole hip area that I mentioned. You got the La Paz letters and so forth. You have the muelle, the docks, where some of the charter fishing boats leave from, and the boats that go check out the whale watching. So a lot of that stuff leaves right from here. And then just to the east, I thought I'd also mention there's this area called Estero. And this is an up-and-coming area that's obviously very well located, but just slightly outside the main drag. And so you might find the rentals and real estate to be slightly cheaper over here. And you might get a little bit more of a hippie bohemian vibe, but still very, very built up. So we can kind of look in at some of the neighborhoods here. And definitely areas undergoing a fair amount of gentrification. But it's pretty cool, right? Because You're right on the malecón, but then you're also very close to the mountains and places that you can come in and go for a hike. So to me, that's like a pretty cool place to be, where I have access to kind of the bars and restaurants, but then I also have walking distance access to go to some cool hikes up here in the mountains. And we'll take a look at the malecón on this side of things too. So very much part of the malecón experience. So hopefully this is helpful for you guys. I think when I stayed in La Paz, I stayed somewhere right around here, kind of on the other side, not on the Estero side, but actually on the other side. And it was great. You know, it's pretty built up. I mean, the whole thing is great. Really anything within, say, 5-6 blocks of the beach, or of the malecón rather, you really feel connected to the malecón. You feel connected to the whole city. I remember there's a pretty cool skate park here as well on the malecón, in this little park. And this is another kind of focal point of the city, right? So we got the little skate park here. We got some cafes, some restaurants, and the malecón. Now, you might be wondering about beaches. The thing, I'd say like one of the downsides about La Paz is the beaches in the city are basically like not swimmable. It's kind of like this rocky, gunky type of beach. So even though, you know, you're waterfront and there is some semblance of a beach here and a little bit of sand, just keep in mind that this isn't really the type of place that you're going to come and go in the water and go to the beach. If you want to go to the beach, then your options are probably either coming out to the dunes, the Dunas del Magote, or coming out to some of the beaches out here along the Rocky Peninsula, including the uber famous Playa Balandra and Playa Tecolote up here, right? Looks like they're going to start potentially building this out with some neighborhoods. Who knows? So this is Playa Balandra. That's probably worth mentioning in this video as well. Logistically, you know, where is the city relative to this beach? A lot of people come to La Paz basically just to visit this beach, Playa Balandra. I remember at least during COVID, they had limits in terms of the number of people they would allow to access the beach per day. They used to have these shifts where it was like a morning shift and an afternoon shift, and it's like we're only taking, you know, X quantity of people in the morning, call it, I don't know, 200 people, and then we're only taking 200 people in the afternoon. I'm not sure in 2025 if it's still working like that. I know they do try to limit access to the beach a little bit to conserve the natural environment. So you'll have to kind of check the latest on the logistics of visiting the beach, but probably your best bet is going first thing in the morning. So lots of cool hikes around here, lots of other smaller, slightly lesser known beaches that you can come check out. Playa Las Gaviotas, this looks awesome too. So if you want to go to the beach, this is really where you're looking, is this kind of whole rocky area a little bit outside the city. So when you're staying in the city, you don't have to optimize for, you know, being near the best beach or anything like that, because the beaches, you basically need a car or Uber to get to. And these beaches along this area are probably going to be a lot easier and faster to get to than going all the way around to the dunas. But those are kind of your two main options. Now, another thing that's getting popular is some of these beach towns and areas down sort of the southeast coast here of the peninsula. So you have this area called Ensenada de Muertos, which has beaches, and there's a couple towns here where people come and they'll go camping, they'll bring their RV and so forth. I think Buena Vista is the one that I was looking for. So this is pretty built up. It's got some hotels, it's got the beach. And a lot of people during their visit to La Paz will come down to this sort of area. Los Barriles Los Barriles is known for having really good kite surfing and other types of aquatic sports like that. It's got the beach, could have some pretty strong waves. So this is Los Barriles. A lot of people come down here just to check it out, do some surfing and everything like that, kite surfing rather. But so you have all these other little pockets of small towns along the coast as well, which you might want to visit at some point. Some aguas termales here, which means hot springs. So there's so much cool stuff to experience within, say, a 1-hour drive of La Paz. And I think the best thing to do is just basically stay as close to the malecón as you can, budget permitting. And then you can always go a little bit further away from the malecón if need be. But hopefully this gives you a better understanding of La Paz, where to stay in La Paz to have the best experience possible. And I hope you enjoyed this video. We have tons of other where to stay videos on the channel for other cities in Mexico and all around Latin America. And then quick note, if you want to get residency in Mexico, that's what we help people do. We're like a full-scale immigration firm. We help people with Mexico as well as residency in other countries in Latin America as well. So please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop a comment maybe on some of the best areas or hotels and places that you've stayed in La Paz. We'd love to hear about your experience.